What the F is up internet? I'm that dude Swainzilla. AKA old guy with too much time on his hands. Well, actually I'm just an avatar, because this bum is too damn lazy to film and edit a webcam video for this. Anywho, I'm coming at you from the man cave, and I'm about to drop a brand new digital caricature drawing on Dat. Let's get into it, shall we? Here we are in Photoshop. We always start with a yellowish canvas, because plain white is boring as hell and the yellow seems easier on the eyes. We'll frame our caricature at the end, so we use this background oval as a guide. It'll help us figure out how we want our subject to fit on the page. And the subject of this video is the Mork of Ork, Popeye, the Genie in Aladdin, Mrs. Doubtfire, Patch Adams, and Teddy Roosevelt in A Night at the Museum, the one and only Robin Williams. Our first goal is to sketch in as many of the simplest shapes we can. Nothing we draw here is set in stone, but will give us some rough landmarks to work with. Our reference photo is a big help, but since we are exaggerating everything, most of this is just guesswork. We want to doodle in the most important features. Once we are satisfied, we ditch our guide, give the whole thing a light erase. Then we attempt to define our lines more thoroughly. We are feeling pretty good about things so far, but we have to cut him up and resize our shapes a bit. We lower our opacity and start a new layer. Now we go after it with our blue pencil brush. We just want to tighten up our lines some more. If what we drew in red was our rough sketch, then what we are drawing now is our rough draft. If that makes any sense. Some people can draw what they want to in one shot. This guy cannot do that, so he has to draw it over and over until it looks okay. Kinda like sculpting something, just pushing and pulling until our lines, shapes, and eventually the colors match our vision. It takes patience and time. Luckily this dude doesn't have a life. Let's zoom in, get our eyes dialed in a touch more, then move on to some more slicing and dicing, and adjust our features a little. Lower our opacity, add a new layer, and switch to our gray pencil brush. This is where we really start to draw the thing. We take our time really just trying to lock these details down. This guy doesn't understand the concept of less is more. He is compelled to draw in everything he sees. Hopefully as he gets more comfortable with drawing caricatures he'll find a happy medium. In fairness though, I don't think he's found his quote-unquote style yet, and maybe when he does, this process will become more structured and disciplined. So, for now, we'll just watch him waffle around trying to figure out exactly how to do this. It should be interesting to see how far and quickly he progresses though. He really doesn't have an end game in mind, he's just really enjoying the challenge these caricatures provide. The balance between exaggeration and likeness is not easy. But that's what makes it so fun. He read somewhere early on that the beauty of caricatures is that no matter how bad your day is, you can always sit down and draw a funny picture. I think he latched onto that because he also works 70 hours a week dealing with customers, so almost every day is a bad day. Another thing that makes caricature art so great is, there's no wrong way to draw them. The human face just has so many variations, between random indents, wrinkles, and bone structure. And you can draw those features any way you want. This guy used to draw professional athletes as comic book characters back in the day, so his lines have a jabby sharp style. It might not be the textbook way to draw these, but who doesn't like a mash-up? We size him up, and go in with our ink brush. This part is kind of exciting. We are really laying down our line art, like this is it? And the contrast of the black lines really cement that feeling. Admittedly, the amount of lines make him look older than we really want him to, but hopefully we'll be able to soften that up when we color him in. This is when our push and pull technique goes beyond an individual drawing. In our last video where we drew a caricature of Biggie Smalls we drew a lot fewer lines, and even though we think he looked cool, he regretted not plugging in more line work. He's probably guilty of overcompensating here. Our lines are down, ditch our yellow, and it's time to lay in our base colors. We're trying to keep our big shapes separate until later. We use a gray background, hoping it'll help us avoid accidentally leaving areas unpainted. We'll redden up his lips a little, probably a little too much. We'll start working on his inner mouth, teeth, tongue, then onto his neck. Did you know that for a time, Robin Williams was a mime in Central Park. The dude was going to Juilliard at the time. Let's fill in a base hair color under our hair pattern, and eyebrows. Then we change our line colors to try to soften up our more insignificant line work. We alternate between a dark and lighter color. We also made a copy of our black lines to fade over the top afterwards. Get our lips, teeth, tongue lines. And then our shirts. Lighten up our hair pattern a tad. Oops, forgot our necklines. Now let's give his face some tone. And use a rosy color to put some life into him. Then we combine our separate lines and base color layers. Then add general light and shadow gradients to each area. Now we use a soft shadow brush to add some more targeted shadows. We just want to hit every spot the light is missing on his face. Then we add a screen layer, and with the same brush we add some lightness to the areas the light is hitting. I hope we get a legit Robin Williams biopic at some point, just to highlight his legacy beyond the fact that he took his own life. The man's career started on an episode of Happy Days in 1974, and he entertained us consistently since then. Suicide shouldn't be the first thing we think of when his name is mentioned. After adding another multiply layer, we add a fleshier tone to our shadows, and deepen them across his face. I do feel like we are softening up some of these jabby lines as we go, kind of. After finishing that up, we add another screen layer, and then we lighten up our highlighted areas some more. We lighten up some of our bigger spots first, because we are still trying to soften things up a bit. Then we touch up our more detailed spots. The contrast of the colors looks cool anyway. We give our neck some base shadow and light, hit his eyes a bit. Then deepen up our next shadows and highlight some more. Teeth are tricky. Like, should he even bother outlining them? He does have a hard time with colors and just painting in general. But he's used to coloring in a comic bookish style, and portrait style painting is way different. He really wants to find a good balance, where the subject looks sharp, but also as close to realistic as possible. Again, any tips would be appreciated. Now we are adding our highlights and shadow to the hair, eyebrows, and chest hair. Then we merge our separate pieces together, and then adjust our saturations and contrasts. Let's add another multiply layer and hit our bigger face shadows. Add a screen layer and brighten up some spots. Eventually he'll figure out an easier way to do this, hopefully anyway. Making these videos is a big help. There's a lot of value in looking back and deciphering the thought process. He's never satisfied with the final product, and he's committed to getting better, so he'll just continue tinkering until he finds a process he likes. Let's try to thin up this hairline a touch. Then we merge all of our layers together. Now we adjust the entire thing's saturation and contrast. Throw on another coat of shadows and highlights. Surprise, surprise. Another strange fact about Robin Williams is that he was voted least likely to succeed in high school. Hey schools, why does that category even exist? Honestly. Sorry bro, your peers are predicting that you are gonna suck forever. Now get out there and make something of yourself. Sheesh. Now we make our black lines layer visible and erase away the lighter areas to show the lighter lines from underneath. We smash everything together, adjust our colors again, and then we add a few white highlights, give him a green background, and ta-da! Thank you for watching. See you on the next one.